Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Mitchell, CEO and founder of Stephanie Mitchell Media. Welcome to the Stephanie Mitchell Media podcast. Today, I have with me Sharon Gray, and Sharon is the owner of Cutes and Cakes. And that is an amazing bakery business that she started. Sharon, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Sharon Gray. I've been baking now for, 10, 11 years maybe. I kind of got started just as a hobby with one of my best friends. And then it just turned into a thing. Um, People like cake. Who knew, right? And so when we originally started, we were planning to bake cakes like Cake Boss. And so it just kind of grew from there. I still don't think I'm on the level of Cake Boss. I mean, I'm pretty good sometimes, but I can't bake cakes like Cake Boss just yet. I'm getting good though.
Yeah, the stuff that you make is amazing. You make flour. It's really any request that someone makes, I see you meet and surpass that need. So you're a very creative person. What is your favorite kind of event to do, theme? What do you
Um,
like?
so I don't know. I kind of bounce back and forth. Like sometimes I really like to do like stuff for kids because it's like lots of colors and really fun things. And then sometimes I like to do the fancier kinds of things. So like the drip cakes with, macaroons on it and fresh flowers. So I kind of go back and forth between the two. I guess it depends on my mood, maybe. It depends on which one I like to
Yeah.
do more.
What kind of requests do you get the most often? Is it birthdays? Is it weddings? Do you do weddings?
I get a lot of birthday requests. I do weddings. I just don't generally advertise it a lot because weddings are so stressful. I
Hmm.
tend to, I tend to kind of shy away from those. But yeah, I have done weddings. I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out if I want to start doing more weddings or I like to do the non-traditional wedding cakes. So if somebody wants a black wedding cake, call me, right? That would be something I would like to
Yeah.
do, or just something different, not just the regular 3-tier white cake with flowers. That's boring. I don't want to do that. I mean, I can, but
That's really a common theme, right?
yeah, yeah.
So so how long have you been baking?
I've been baking about 11 years. I started in 2011. Yeah, I started in 2011. So yeah, 11 years. That
Yeah.
was the first time I made like a little cake. It was funny looking little cake. I keep trying to find the picture. It sounds like an old Facebook page, but I tried to get access to it and I couldn't the other day. So I don't know. I'll email the people at Facebook. Maybe they'll let me back in. And I'm like, here's my driver's license. Like, it's the same email address I've used for years, but it's a really old Facebook page that I had. So maybe they'll let me back in and I can find the picture. But that was the
Yeah,
first cake
hopefully.
that I did. Yeah. And it was
Okay.
yeah, crazy. It was just a little tiny cake. We went on YouTube and figured out how to like make fondant and how to cut the cake and what to do with the buttercream and all that stuff. So
That's really cool. And that's not all you do, right? You have other services you offer and also you work full time somehow on top of that. So tell me
yeah.
more about that stuff.
So yeah. I do work full time. I'm a budget analyst. So I have a bachelor's degree in finance and a master's degree in finance. So of course, in my life, I plan to do finance, right? Like that's my thing. I've always loved budgeting, love spreadsheets, anything to do with money. I love it. I could create a budget in like 20 seconds, probably. Okay, maybe not 20 seconds,
Hmm.
like, you know, 90
You're
seconds.
fast, right?
Yeah, I'm really good with budgets. Yeah. And so like a lot of my friends, they asked me to make budgets for them, like their personal budget. And so I worked
Hmm.
in banking for 13 years. Yeah, I was in banking for 13 years, like actual bank. Um, And so, of course, being in banking, I learned a lot of stuff because there's so many different things to deal with. And I learned a lot about personal finance. And so all of that is kind of like my finance background. And so I do
Yeah.
that during the day. And so of course, I work on the arsenal for the Department of Defense. And so I do that during the day. And then when I get off, that's when I have a little moment to kind of respond to inquiries for cakes and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's pretty busy around here. And I do have children and a husband and a dog.
Yeah.
Yes. So between all of that, I mean, hey, I get it done some kind of way. I don't know how sometimes, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're one of the busiest people that I know, but everything that you do is so excellent, so that's amazing. That's the true talents.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so tell me more about your husband and your kids, like, tell me about them and your family life.
Yeah, so I have my husband is Ryan. He's a project manager. He is the reason we moved to Huntsville. He got a job offer here when we got married, and so we moved here. And I was still in banking when we moved here, and so that's how we ended up in Huntsville. We're not leaving, by the way. I love it here. It's the best city in Alabama. I'm
Yeah.
originally, I'm originally from Montgomery, and so I've lived in Montgomery. I lived in Montgomery. I worked in Auburn for a while, but and some other little cities in Montgomery where I've worked in banking. But Huntsville is the best. It's the best. um, and so, and so we have three children. My oldest, Zion, he is 17. He's at Sparkman High. And then my youngest son, Zachariah, we call him Zach. He is 13, and he's with Madison County Virtual Academy. And then we
Cool.
have a 19-month-old Skylar.
Aw.
Yeah, and that's our girl. She is everything.
Aw.
She's so cute. So yeah, it's weird going from like being a boy mom to a girl mom. So she's really fun, really really fun. And so she's at that age where she's like talking or trying to talk. She sounds out some little stuff. She can make some little sentences. And so it's really fun just watching her grow up. And because we're working from home, we get to spend a lot more time with her than we normally would if we were going into the office and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then we have a dog, Mr. Duncan. That's my other son.
Yeah. I
Um,
love it.
the cutest little dog on the planet. He is a hound and lab mix. And so, fun fact, I have always been terrified of dogs. And so, like, when I was younger, my grandmother, like, they had dogs at their house, but they kept them, like, in the backyard because, before people started letting dogs live in the house, they lived outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, so, like, she always had dogs in the backyard, and I would never go in the backyard because I was terrified of the dogs. And, like, when I was really small, one of the dogs beat me on the finger, and of course, so that scarred me forever.
Oh,
I never
no.
wanted dogs. Never been a fan of
Mhm.
dogs. Always have been very afraid of dogs. And so my husband showed me the picture of the dog, and he's like, "Oh, we need a dog." And I was like, "We don't need a dog." And he's like, "Yeah, we need a dog." And so he showed me the picture, and I was like, "Oh, that dog is so cute." And I thought the dog is going to be like a little tiny, like not tiny, but I thought he was going to be like smaller. And we got there
Yeah.
to look at him because he was at one of the shelters here. So we got there to look at him, and I was like, "That's not the same dog. That dog is huge." Yeah,
Oh, wow, that must have been so scary. Like, a
yeah,
really shocking.
yeah. I was like, "That dog is huge." And so it was funny because when he ran out, like he immediately ran over there and like jumped up on my oldest son, and he was petting him and he was wagging his tail. And so the boys, they were like, "Oh yeah, we like this one," and I was just like, "Okay." So we got the dog
Yeah.
and we brought him home, and I would just like look at him for it was like 2 weeks. We were just kind of like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Now
But
he's
eventually you earned each other's trust and it's all good now.
now we're great friends. He jumps up on me and he's like, if I'm sitting on the floor, he's like right in my face, and I'm just like, hey. So it's really cool. I'm still afraid
Yeah,
of other people's dogs, but not my dog. So
that's understandable.
so we're cool. We're cool now. I like dogs. I like my dog rather.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
little family.
Well, thanks so much for sharing all that with us. Love hearing about that stuff. So, with your background in finance, how does that really tie into your cutes and cakes? Figuring out because you love spreadsheets, all of that. What is, I'm sure you probably have a few maybe tips to share about finance, budgeting. What do you think is like a really big struggle for people, with budgeting and
Well, with budgeting, I say the biggest struggle is people just don't know how to do it. Like they don't know what percentages need to be spent on what, or they just don't know. A lot of people don't even know what they really spend. And so it's hard to like back in the day they had like the little check register where they would track everything that they spent because they wrote checks for most stuff, right? Now we just swipe
right?
our debit cards and it's like, oh, I spent, $40 at the gas station on snacks. Like, what was that about? Or something like
Yeah,
that.
I know.
So yeah, it's a learned habit. Like you have to make it a habit. And so um, even just starting out with maybe if you just want to track your bills, just knowing exactly how much you spend on each thing. Because you'd be surprised. I know, like sometimes with even car insurance, like you may be paying one thing, and then 3 months later, or if it renews and you don't check it, it may be a totally different rate that you're paying. And if you never looked at it, then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I thought I was paying
Oh.
$140 for car insurance, but I'm paying $215. Stuff like that. So it's really
Mhm.
you have to be mindful. I mean, it's your money, right? So you want to
Right.
know where it goes, right? You have to spend your money. Don't let your money spend you, right? So you tell it where it's going. And so there's a lot of different budgeting tools. There's a lot of different variations of, how much you should spend on this and how much you should spend on that. And I think it you have to make it personal. It's based on you. So like for us, we don't go by, the industry standards of, our house should be, I think it's like something crazy, like 40% of your monthly income or something crazy like that. Well, we don't do that.
Mhm.
We try to stay on like the 20% side. So it's based on
Mm.
what you want to do. And you don't necessarily have to um, make bigger purchases just because you can afford them, so you don't have to get the
Yeah.
400,000 house just because, the mortgage loan officer says, well, you're approved for, 450,000. Well, that's fine. You don't have to go get a
Mhm.
$450,000 house. So you just have to really kind of sit down and map out, how you want your life to look. Do you want to be comfortable or do you want to work to just have to pay bills? And so I think
Yeah.
that makes a big difference. And so being that I was in banking for so long, I saw so many people that while they might have, made really good money, they were living way above their means. And so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wow, you make, $10,000 a month, but like at the end of the month, you only have like $50 in your account. Like, what are you doing with all your money?
Wow,
Like
yeah.
crazy stuff like that. And so, like, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that we saw working in banking. And so, I think spreadsheets are very important.
Mhm.
Tracking your spending, having budgets, even if it's just a budget for your food, like because food is generally the place where people spend the most money, and that's whether it's
Yeah.
eating or grocery shopping. And so even if you just say, hey, all right, this week we're only spending $100 on food, well,
Mhm.
track it. Make sure you only spend $100. Or if it's
Yeah.
if it's two of you, $100 can go a long way. If it's four plus a dog, it kind of goes faster. So you just have to
Yeah.
you just have to kind of base your week. And I do budgets, like we have like weekly budgets in certain areas. So like food, we have a weekly food budget. I know exactly how much we spend on food every week. And so there's built in money for, okay, well, maybe once a week we'll eat out instead of me cooking, or twice a week, or whatever it is. And so you just have to really be mindful of what you're spending, how much you're spending, because Americans, we overspend.
Yeah.
And, a lot of us aren't taught, a lot of finance stuff when we're younger. And so, we grow up and we get great jobs, and it's like, oh, I got all this money. I can just go eat Pizza Hut every day or go eat out every day. And then at the end of the month, you're like, oh, I don't have enough money for gas next week. Well,
yeah.
yeah, like those are things that you have to plan for. And so, yeah, budgeting, I think it's very important. And like, even with the cakes, with like starting a business, I had to break down, I had to be able to break down the ingredients. So like, I have to know how much it costs for a cup of flour, or, a stick of butter, or a cup of powdered sugar. So all the ingredients that I use, I have to be able to calculate, okay, how much of this goes in a recipe, and how much does that recipe cost me? So that way I know how much I need to charge to, of course, make, the money back that I spent on it, as well as make a profit. So that it gets really.
And do you find that people are understanding when prices adjust for inflation, for example? Because I know groceries have gotten to be a lot more expensive, and then your cakes can't cost the same, right? So how does that work? Do people understand that, or do you have to have a conversation?
Yeah, I really don't. I learned this early on. I don't do a lot of kind of back and forth about the prices. I set my prices, and those are the prices. And so what I started doing, instead of like giving each person an individual quote, I have my cake sizes. So like, if they are wanting a little tiny cake, there's a price for that. If they're wanting something bigger, so it's based on the number of servings. And that's just how I quote the prices. So that way they can just look at the price list. They know how much they want to spend, and they can pick the cake that's in that budget range. And that way I don't have to kind of go back and forth with price. Because in the beginning, when I first started doing it, it was like, okay, this is, $60, this is $75. And it's like, oh, well, why is that's a lot? That's for a cake. Well, I can go to Publix and get it for $20. And I'm like, but
then why are you talking to me then, right?
I mean, can you go get it at Publix? Because they're not gonna make the cake like this.
It won't be a customized whatever for $20. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. So I think by doing that, it kind of gives me that freedom to where I don't have to really go back and forth about the prices. But it also, like, if somebody asks for a quote, and I kind of send them a price list, that just kind of says right there if they're going to be a customer or not. Because they'll look at it like, oh, well, no, I don't feel like the cake is, should cost that much. And that's fine. I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, all right, well, you just have to know who your customer is. And I think I've done a really good job of kind of setting myself apart from Walmart or Publix or, any big box store.
For sure. For sure you have.
So yeah, as the prices increase, I generally kind of go back through, because we've just had a really big increase with like butter and eggs and stuff. They went up really high. And so they're now starting to balance out a little bit. And so I just went in and adjusted my cake price flyer and just went from there. And so when somebody asks for a price, I just send it out, and that's just kind of what it is. And I'll have some people, I'll send it and they don't respond, and I'm fine with it. Like, I don't get mad or anything. I'm just like, okay. They probably went to Publix, and I'm fine with that. Publix has really good tasting cake.
Yeah, no, but I've seen your cakes, and they're definitely, I think you get what you pay for with this, because you really fill whatever special request within reason, right? Because I see you doing all kinds of different really detailed themes, or just Do people generally tell you exactly what they want, or do they kind of give you a few general ideas and then you just come up with the creativity later?
It just depends. So of course I like the ones where they're just like, hey, this is the theme and these are the colors and you can kind of do what you want. I love those.
Yeah, that's
Those are
awesome.
my favorite. Yeah, those are my favorite. Because then if I have like an idea that I've been wanting to try, like I generally get to try it. So like the Minnie Mouse cake this past weekend, it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, hey, it's a birthday party, Minnie Mouse theme. And I was like, okay, are you doing the pink Minnie Mouse or the red Minnie Mouse? And they were like, the red Minnie Mouse. And so, I was
Mhm.
able to kind of just freestyle and do it however I wanted to. And it wasn't like they just sent a picture and were like, hey, can you do it like this? And so I do get a lot of I do get a lot of the ones where they're like, hey, we're wanting something like this. But one thing with decorating, it's really, really difficult to make a cake 100% like another cake. So like even the cake I made this past weekend,
Uh,
I can make it again, but it's not going to be 100% the same like that other cake. And it's just,
sure.
I think it's probably like creative stuff, just kind of like painting. People really probably
Mhm.
can't duplicate a painting 100%, and so it is really difficult to duplicate a cake. I do get a lot of pictures where they're like, "Hey, can you make this cake?" And I'll just say, yeah, it'll have some differences on it, but I'll get it as close as
Mhm.
possible, kind of thing. So yeah, I like the ones where they let me freestyle.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, normally the
Um,
ones where I freestyle, those are the ones where people are like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." So
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, because I remember the first time you showed me a picture of your cakes, and it was the flower bouquets, and I was really shocked that something like that even existed. It was just the attention to detail, and it looked like real flowers. I was blown away, and I'm blown away every time I see one of your cakes. Like, I can't believe I know this person in real life. She's so cool.
thank you. It's so weird though, because I don't even I don't think I'm a creative person. It's so weird. Like I'm not an artsy kind of person. I've never been. I can't draw. Like I don't like to do like art kind of stuff. But I don't know. It's weird. Like when I get a cake, it's like, oh, I can make it do this stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, you're so talented. And I'm like, I mean, I'm all right. Don't worry.
Well, I think that you're one of those people that you do the budget stuff, you have that side that you do, and then you also have like the creative side too. And I think that's a little bit more rare to have both of those in one person because I know that I'm a little confused exactly where I sit on that spectrum because sometimes I feel more creative and sometimes, I'm not good at spreadsheets and all that stuff. But then I don't think of myself as like a DIY person. So I think it really depends on the thing. If
Yeah.
it's the thing that I like, creating graphics or something, like I love doing that. If it's like I don't know, like put it yourself together kind of whoa, like, those people that do all these crafts, I'm like, that's too much for me. I'm never doing all those steps. Like, let's not.
Yeah. It's funny. So when we found out we were having a girl and then like we bought the house or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do her room and I'm gonna like do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was so exhausting. So I did. I made like a little board that
Mhm.
has her name on it, and I painted it in all different colors. But I was just like, oh man, I want to do anything like that again. It was just,
Right.
yeah, it was like so much. I'm like,
It's
oh,
so much.
oh. Yeah.
It
So
just has to be the right creative thing for us,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It has to
yeah,
be the right thing.
yeah.
Um, is there anything that you wanted to kind of wrap up with or say like I guess what is the thing about everything that you do that a lot of people wouldn't like, but that you really love?
Um, I'll just say, um, I don't. I guess I don't consider myself a patient person. But when it comes to cakes and it comes to decorating, like you have to really be patient because it doesn't just like, it's not like you just walk in the kitchen and 30 minutes later, it's like, oh, look, I made a masterpiece. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time, and of course, the longer you do it, the faster you get. But there's still like it still takes time, because of course you have to do all the prep work. You gotta bake it, you gotta let it cool. And so like I make my own buttercream, and so I gotta make the buttercream. I gotta color the buttercream. It's a lot of steps, and so I guess if you're not a patient person, it may not be. I wouldn't say it's the best. It's probably not the best thing for you to do is jump in the kitchen and bake a cake, because it does take a lot of
Mm-hmm.
practice, a lot of time. But I mean, it's fun if you enjoy, I mean, it's good to eat it afterwards. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I also would say though, like if you've ever been curious, or if you really like watching cooking shows, or you like watching the cake decorating shows, just try it. You can literally learn how to decorate cakes and use fondant on YouTube. That's how I like everything I've learned it on YouTube, even the flowers. Because I wanted to go and like take a class, and I couldn't find anyone close to Alabama. And of course, COVID
Mm-hmm.
was like, wreaking havoc on everything. And so like the closest one I could
Yeah.
find is she was in California. There was a lady that's in California. Her stuff is amazing. Like my stuff is nothing compared to her stuff. But and so I really wanted to go take the class, and I was kind of looking up flights, and I was like, that's too much money to go spend just to learn how to decorate some flowers. And so I literally, when I go to the gym, because of course a lot of people now work out. So literally when I
Yeah.
go to the gym, I get on the treadmill. I'm on YouTube watching flower piping videos, like where they're piping the flowers with
Mm-hmm.
the buttercream. And so that's how I learned. I would watch them, and then I'll practice, and I'll watch some more and practice. So you can learn it on YouTube. YouTube has everything. I should be like a
It really
YouTube
does.
spokesperson.
Yeah, they should
YouTube has
sponsor you. Hint, hint.
everything. I know. I should pitch that. Yeah. Hey, y'all should sponsor
Yeah.
me. I make a YouTube cake. Y'all sponsor me, and I can tell people that I learned all these skills on YouTube. But I literally learned everything on YouTube. Never took a cake decorating class or anything. So if you're interested in doing it, just do it. Like go to one of the cake decorating classes. Sometimes I'll offer them. I've been way too busy the last couple months, so I hadn't been able to offer any. But I mean, go to a cake decorating class. It could be the ones at
Mm-hmm.
Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and just try it, and you might actually like it. And then you might start your cake decorating business.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today and just telling us a little bit more about yourself. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me and making me feel kind of special, like somebody wants to actually hear
Oh,
about me.
oh, good. Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you.